Hello Proxies, it's your boy Josh. We just wrapped up the 2.4 special program and now have revealed the on-banner limited characters for the first and second half of the update. These characters range from incredibly relevant to the most niche we've seen in Zenless, so let's break it all down for you, since if you weren't already saving for my wife, Jshoea, you might want to consider some of these characters too. Let's break down their value right now. Beep beep. First on the drawing block is the new front-running physical stunner character in Dial-In. And let me be very clear, we are starting with the hottest of the 4 limited characters here, so it's all downhill from here. But I think bringing up Dial-In first just makes sense, as she is part of the first half of the crew, and that's going to be important for a really big reason. So stick with me here. Hey folks, it's Post Josh here to tell you about the sponsor of this video, LD Shop. Now, LD Shop has been gracious enough to provide us with some fun perks while we top up to 35% off of our favorite games. Almost any mobile game you play can be found here with bundles for bundles. Wait, that's kind of genius. And off of your first purchase, LD Shop wants to make you a customer for your gacha stay. So they're giving you a top up starting at 22%. All you need to do is take your ID, region, and enter your payment method, which they have it all, and boom. Yeah, you can't miss out on even more savings because I have an additional 15% off code if you use the link below with an extra 5% coupon for later. Take a look at the internet passes. They are $3.60 versus your regular $5. That money adds up, folks. Well, make sure to drop by LD Shop by clicking the link in the description for exclusive perks and discounts. And thank you to LD Shop for sponsoring this video. Dial-In has the ability to accrue reviews from her customers, aka this is her stacking mechanic. Yeah, there are 2 different stacks that she's building here: positive customer reviews or customer complaints. And with these 2 stacks, she can actually allow herself to apply certain buffs and debuffs to the opponent. With her flurry or flowery dance moves, Dial-In has a bit more of an on-field playing style, which is somewhat contrary to the other stunners we've received as of recent, like Jufufu, or even as far back as Pokra and Trigger. But much like a character like Chingy, who will reward you with massive stun damage multipliers, Dial-In will provide you with buffs and bonuses across the board, which are not limited to stun damage multipliers, stun increases duration by pausing the timer, team damage multipliers, and a very unique ability to turn the first chain of a stun window into an ultimate. Yep, that's right. She will consume her review stacks and allow the following up character to upgrade to their ultimate, and in increasing their damage, which is a mechanic that I've been predicting for a while, that will scale to the class that follows the attack. What I mean by that is that if the following character is an attacker, it will scale with their attack, and if it is a rupture character, it will scale with sheer force. This allowing for a much more seamless conversion and thus application of the character versus just buffing attack or sheer force outright. This ushers in a small new era for Zenless. As of the 1.4 patches, we've grown increasingly more broad in scope with abilities and technicalities to allow for more flexibility. What I mean by this is that look at the 1.0 characters, many of whom are bound with their additional abilities to that of their faction, which most of them didn't even want to play with their faction in the first place. Well, now we have passives that only require support or stun or for the offensive characters, and it was only time now that we have the ability to buff characters based on their relative scaling factor, which doesn't always have to be the case for every single supporting cast character who is introduced into the game, but it is a welcome sight. With all of her bonuses, unique gameplay, and very animated kit and personality, it's a no-brainer that Dial-In is going to be the highlight character to pull in version 2.4. And not only that, one of the only important reasons why I mentioned at the beginning of why it's important that she comes first is that we allow ourselves a 3-week buffer to the introduction of the new Void Hunter to be Jshoea. I know this video is supposed to be about 2.4 characters, yet we can't dismiss the relation or relative scaling of the potential best character to come out of the 2.x patches, and all the characters from here on out will revolve around her if they are either valuable to her or more or less valuable. Think of Jshoea as the sun of the solar system of 2.x. And thus with Dial-In's very versatile kit, with having a lighter like stun duration, extra buffs, and the ability to convert chains to ults, I can see that working incredibly well synergistically wise with a character like Jshoea or even Banya, which is a character we'll get to right after. Well, the probably worst character of the roster in terms of value, and I mean value specifically because I know many folks love his pomp and flair. Yes, I'm talking about Hugo Vlad. Now, Hugo isn't necessarily a bad character, but it seems like his kit was not made to fit into the game, and it's better served in other games. Regardless, his playstyle and his unique ability of Totalize is pretty cool, yet doesn't quite serve the modern day problems or stages that we've gotten. And doesn't help that Dylan, who we just talked about converting chains to ult, would be a bit anti-synergy because you would need to use a chain for Hugo instead of immediately going into the ult. We'll talk about the relationship more specifically in my Dylan early access guide video coming out in the next weeks, so make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel right now to catch that. But for Hugo, what also makes him much less value of a pick is that he can't function without the presence of stunners, and good stunners at that. His core ability requires up to 2 of the rest of the team to be stunners, which will allow him to increase his attack. So this technically makes up for not having a straight up buffer on the team, yet bonuses overall are just a bit weaker than having a support outright, and that's just how good Jshoea is. But with Hugo, just having Pulcro, Ambi, even Jufu is not gonna cut it. You're most likely going to want the triggers of the world, Qingyi, Lighter, and Lycons with high investment in order to make Hugo pop. Yet within the teams of all men, Hugo can perform exceptionally well. But again, that doesn't add to his value because this just means he's one of the most niche characters in the game, and if you want him to do well, you need to coddle and cater towards his specific playstyle. Whereas other offensive units can get support from literally other supports and stunners out there. Hell, even other attackers want other attackers these days. Hugo is very much a relic of the past, and unless you're going for vertical investment, I do not suggest you picking him up as your new character, as there are others much cooler and swaggier than he is. Talking about cooler, let's move straight to Banye, who is arguably one of the most badass characters we've gotten in the game to date, and who unfortunately precedes our next big ticket character in Guang. Why does Hoyo always like to put the men right before highlight characters? Like, literally Hugo came right before Yishen for crying out loud. But I digress, Banye is absolutely baller, and I don't just mean because he has big balls. Banye has a cool set of skills, and it already starts with his 2-line of basic strings, which if you input his basics with your left mouse or X on a controller, depending on what console you have, you can have his light basic string of attacks. Then if you were to spam E or specials, you can get another basic string called the heavy basics. This is quite unique to much of the ZZ cast, but something that has been quite normalized with previous Hoyo titles in HI3, where a few of these characters have strings of attacks tied to their special skills. Then, just like Monato, when you defensive assist or dodge counterattack, you can parry and build up a ton of his rage stacks. These will accumulate with skill usage and allow him to reach the Wrathful Fire stance. And with the stance, he'll be able to use his charge basic, which is the Crushing Mountain attack here, where he aura farms at the same time. Alongside 2 different basics, he also has several EX specials that are tied to certain combo strings. So by inputting certain combos, you can get certain EX special attacks. This is very fighter game coded, and if you're coming from the Street Fighters and Tekkens of the world, this will be very elementary to you, but allow you to feel quite at home. Ultimately, Banye is quite the quintessential offensive character that has some parries in his kit, because what offensive character doesn't these days? Literally, Yishen, Alice, Orphe all have parries, and Siege charge basic essentially is not interruptible. Banye is no different, and if you want an elevated style of play from Monato, look no further than Banye himself. But in all honesty, Banye is just as valuable as his W engine, the Wrathful Vihara, which most likely can be the premium W engine option for Banye and Monato, and potentially other Rupture units. So if you found yourself skipping the SIGs of others, you can probably borrow Banye's. Overall, his banner is pretty great in value, but gets some points taken off purely because of the timing of his banner being right before the mega patch of 2.5. Yes, 2.5 is setting up to be the biggest patch, and most CCs, including myself, are trying to get everyone on that same page as the devs. Because when we mean big things are coming. So save where you can. And mentioning saving, Ellen Jo is back. Yup, well, she's finally getting a rerun ever since she got her rework a few patches ago. It would have been nice to at least have her rework and rerun banner closer to each other and not within the proximity of 2 other offensive ice characters in Hugo and Yidhari. But I digress. With said rework, she is performing at a tier 1.5 to tier 1 level offensive unit, and with characters like Orphe and Dylan, who are a bit more modern of a supporting cast, we can see Ellen Jo have some success. But that's contingent on you having said modern characters. In a vacuum, Ellen Jo has very little to bring to the modern offense, and teams are slowly moving away from what she can bring, and are not only providing the firepower, but also having portions of their kit contribute to overall team production. And if they are just purely offensive, they are massive DPS upgrades from most, if not all, of the 1.x units. So for me, Ellen Joe, as far as damage and performance, is a skip. But if you like our Sharkmate here, you can't go more wrong than pulling for Hugo. So toss a temple and see what sticks. With that, the last piece of advice I want to leave you with here is, hey, unfortunately, it's just a matter of fact that we are approaching one of the biggest update patches ever since 1.4. Yes, I mean even bigger than 2.0. 2.5 is chock full of updates, reworks, QOLs, revamps, killer story, and of course, host to the potential best valued character in 2.x, Jshoea. So please, be sparing with your polys if you can, and if you do have some to throw out, try your hand at Dylan, who is projected to be the best stunner for many offensive characters in the current roster, and even for those to come. That'll wrap up my 2.4 banner value analysis. I'll have a more dedicated video on these units, so make sure to subscribe to the channel. This video was quite rushed because I am headed out to Texas for Anime Impulse, but make sure to, again, catch our other videos for more fun variety shenanigans or for more guide-oriented stuff. But talking about other platforms, make sure to follow us over on Twitch for our many live streams. It is actually my 5th year anniversary for streaming, so I would love for you to come over and celebrate with us. It's your boy Josh. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.